So, moving on with the AI proofing your sync music, we're going to talk today about developing your artist brand. Now, I want to make sure you're aware you're not going to just watch one video tutorial and then have your brand defined and established and developed. Okay, so this is something that essentially is meant to get the ball rolling, sort of get your thoughts going, and give you some instructions for how to further develop your brand. Okay, so I'm not giving you a brand, and you're certainly not going to have a brand at the end of this video. This is basically just the starting point for you to then go do the work and make a really solid, distinct brand for yourself. But we're going to hopefully give you the tools to be able to do that. That's going to be something that's so crucial for getting TV and film placements, because when you have that unique sound or style or just thing that only you can really deliver, that's when people start calling you for opportunities. That's when editors start seeking out your name. That's why libraries will ask you for much more music. So a lot of the stuff that you're going to hear in this video is actually maybe kind of a review from a lot of the advice I've been giving you guys over the years, but we're just going to basically add some steroids to that advice and really beef it up a little bit more, okay? So let's talk about the starting point for you to then to go do the work, okay? An artist brand, for a definition, is basically a distinct, meaning an original and recognizable sound or style of music, okay? So in a nutshell, if you think about any artist, composer, producer, band that you love, say their name right now, even just in your mind, and then think about it. Is there a particular distinct sound, style, point of view, opinion, vocal style, music style? The answer comes back yes. For every single artist and band and musician that we love and get connected to, that emotionally move us, very important part of that, they've got it. And spoiler alert, you've got one too. Now, you probably just haven't thought of yourself as an artist or a producer that has a brand, but you absolutely do. The difference of what you're going to get out of this course is that up until now, your brand has just sort of been a second thought or maybe a non-thought, and you've just been throwing out music hoping to get placements. So if you haven't put a lot of thoughtful, conscious effort into your branding, then it's probably suffered because there wasn't an actual strategy there behind it, but it certainly does exist. So with this tutorial, you're going to start to help fix that and create a little bit stronger of an image for yourself, okay? Let's now just go through some artist brands so it kind of gives you an idea of what I'm talking about here with this video. Eminem, okay? Probably the most famous rapper of all time. When you think of Eminem, when you think of his music, when you think of his brand, what comes to mind? These are just some of the descriptive words that I came up with. Maybe you'll agree. Maybe you've got some other ones. Sharp. You know, everything that I think when I hear of Eminem is it's a very sharp sound. It's not smooth. It's not romantic. It's not drowsy. It's very sharp, right? Staccato sharp. Fast, of course. He's an extremely fast rapper. A lot of his beats, of course, are fast as well. Intense. He's a very intense guy. Rarely does he do kind of a sad, dreary song. He has a couple, but intensity is really where I think about Eminem. Angry. He's got a lot of anger, a lot of that righteous anger coming out of his music, right? Humorous. He's got jokes, though, too. He makes some tongue-in-cheek jokes. He's cracking this and that. He's got puns and wordplay. He's a funny guy, too, in his music. So humor alongside of that anger intensity is also what really makes him kind of unique. Vulgar, right? Maybe less so in the later years, but in the early years, for sure, the guy obviously was getting noticed from his controversial lyrics and swearing and just all the sort of foul language, essentially, you know. And obviously, he was just irreverent, right? He just was not respecting or showing value to maybe some of the institutions or the things that the sort of like holy cows, you know, are they holy cows? I don't know. The things in your society that you're not allowed to make fun of, he was basically making fun of it and doing it in an extremely humorous, funny way. And obviously getting a lot of attention for doing that. And it's also just his flow and his singing style. So when he's rapping, there's a certain type of cadence and a point of like accents he puts on it, and the dynamics and the structure for his rhymes. You can kind of tell that it's an Eminem song. And when he sings on some of his choruses, he has definitely a distinct singing style. It's not a great singing voice, I don't think, but it's definitely his, right? When I hear his song and he starts singing, I'm like, yep, that's the Eminem thing that he does. And he constantly goes back to these elements with his music. He has different flavors, different combinations, different styles, but almost every track you hear of him, he's going to include something here on this list, or maybe not, you know, maybe even all of them, okay? That is his brand. That's what I want you guys to think about in terms of what is a brand. So think about yourself now, right? You're not Eminem. I'm not Eminem, but we do have a brand, right? So what is it about our music that maybe starts to pull out some common features that we can kind of start saying, oh yeah, all of my music kind of has these elements. That's where I want your thinking to go with this. Well, let's go to somebody that's a little bit more closer to our style and our side of the industry, Hans Zimmer, which is kind of like the biggest, I would say, probably the biggest film composer, basically, of our modern time, right? Well, what is his music all about? What's his brand? Big. Almost anything you ever hear that he does, it's got to be big. I don't know if he's ever done anything small and piano and really soft. Just not Hans Zimmer style. I'm sure he's done a couple of things here and there, but when you think of Hans Zimmer, you're probably like me. You just think big, thematic, right? He wants those big, iconic themes, something that really gets stuck in your head, something that you can associate that track with that movie or that film, right? Orchestral, usually. He has a couple of other maybe hybrid styles that he works with, but usually you're going to hear big horns, strings, that kind of thing, piano. Guitar leads. He's kind of really distinct and known for, he's a guitar player himself, that he'll throw a lot of guitar leads into his tracks. So I always find it's kind of interesting. You'll hear something and go, is this Hans or not? And then you hear that guitar lead, like, yeah, probably is, because he always likes to throw a very simple but very almost hypnotic guitar lead on top of his track. So that's something that I've noticed as well. And he has these kind of unique ways of doing steady builds throughout his track. If you hear the Inception theme song, listen to that one, just how it steadily just takes steps up all the way to the very end. It's a really interesting, cool, small little subtle ways, but the track just gets so big and rich by the end of it. So I think he's just really kind of known for that. And there's probably plenty more things you can throw into this list, but that was just sort of the short list that I came up with. So you can also do this for a favorite, TV and film production music library composer that you follow or that you know, or somebody that you are friends with here in Sync Academy, or somebody that you know is just really doing well. You can definitely go through their tracks and start to pick this stuff out to realize, oh yeah, there is a distinct, recognizable brand there with that producer, okay? So to develop your own brand, you're going to start with your strengths, okay? So this is a long list, okay? We'll go through this, but you don't maybe resonate with all of these, okay? These might not all apply to you. This is, again, not to do the work for you, but to get you to start thinking about how you can start to define your brand, okay? Maybe there's a particular genre that you connect with that you produce more than others. Maybe there's an emotional tone. Is it a little bit more romantic, a little bit moody, a little bit angry, a little bit optimistic and joyful? What is that tone that you really feel like, that's me? I can really crank that out. I love cranking that out, and that really resonates with my personality. Maybe a particular tempo. You're more in the mid-tempo. You really like fast production, right? Certain instruments you like to use, transitions, styles of transitions, maybe some glitching cool stuff you do, reverse sounds, maybe you have a unique style for transitioning stuff, building techniques like Hans does, but you've got your own way of doing it. Maybe adding in some ear candy, some cool little sounds or interesting rich textures that kind of come in and almost barely noticeable, but they just add a little bit of interest, panned out left and right. Maybe that's something that you throw into your tracks. Blending multiple instruments together, so maybe you're really known for, or you like stacking a guitar with a really rowdy, grouty, crunchy sounding synth, and you make these cool, interesting, weird sounding leads that don't exist anywhere else. That might be something that's your little signature as well. Vocals, of course, like your voice or the vocalist that you work with, that's the easiest way to develop your own brand, because the human voice is very unique, and the way that you sing and write your lyrics, of course, helps you develop that. Maybe it's a particular type of effect that you put on your vocals. It could be a vocoder, it could be a distortion, a guitar amp that you put on there. I don't know. Get creative with it though, but something that feels like, yes, this is what I think really sets my music apart. When you hear this effect or you hear these types of vocals, you're going to think of this composer, right? The type of lyrics you write, unique chord progressions, lead melodies that you type to write, certain breaks in your tracks, experimental sounds, etc., 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 etc. Okay, it goes on and on and on and on. So this might be overwhelming because it's like, wow, I have all of those things, but I just don't know what is it that I should be focusing on. I feel like I can do all these different things. I got you covered, okay? So what we're going to do to get you started is we're going to give you 5 steps to develop that brand. And this is definitely going to help you weed out all the noise and all the excess information and just get down to what you really should be focusing on. So step 1, listen. Okay, first thing is not to make music, not to go find sounds, not to do any of that stuff. Okay, put all that down, put your DAW down, close it down. Listen to a sampling of all of your sync music or all of your production music or just all the music that you've created, probably I'd say in the last year or two. Okay, what is the best Okay, this is the hard part. You got to swallow a pill and realize, well, I like this and I like that, and I do hip hop and I do EDM and I do orchestral, so I like them all. Great. Love them all, like them all. Forget about that. I don't care about that. You shouldn't care about that right now. Right now, I want you to be brutally honest which one of those is the best, the highest quality, the most authentic, the most like when you hit play, you go, this is what I would love to click play for all of my friends and family. This is what I'm most proud of. This is what I think really shows off my talent, my skill the best. That is what you are looking for as you listen through as many of your recent tracks as you possibly can. I want you to then make that selection. That is definitely going to help you develop your brand further. I want you to dig into that singular track or that style and then go create go-to sounds and plugins based on that track. Okay, so you go find some plugins, some VSTs, some samples, wherever it is that you want to find your high quality, basically sound libraries to work with. You need to go create essentially templates in your DAW sound palettes that you can go to quickly and immediately access that high quality style or sound that you are already capable of committing. Okay. So what you're doing now is you are going to be throwing fuel on the fire. You've already got a hot sound that you can work with, and now you're just going to go stack up tons of useful and ready to easy to access sounds that you can use as you're in the creative process moving forward. Step 3, the funnest part, right? Just create, and then when you're done creating, create some more. This is actually the only way that you can get to your brand, to get your established brand, to get great at whatever it is that you're producing. And again, this probably does sound similar to what I've been telling you guys for many years, which is select one genre, dive deep into it, and make sure that you really bring your top 10 out of 10 game to a production music library. Same thing here. We're just thinking about it in a slightly different way. But there's no shortcut for that other than just constantly putting your hands on your DAW every single day if you can, even if for a couple of minutes, and just experiment and just create and just push your boundaries of what you could potentially do with your style of music that you've decided, okay? Step 4, I think this is crucial, and I see a lot of people that don't do this really struggle, and it takes a lot longer than they need to. Try to get some professional feedback on your music. If not professional, at least get some peer feedback, okay? Some from other sync licensing producers, somebody else that you've got a connection with. We've got a peer feedback group in Sync Academy. We've got obviously about over 1,000 sync licensing producers on our platform. There's plenty of people you can get some peer feedback from on our platform. Also, we have pro feedback. So if you want to step it up and you want to get access to some feedback from me or from other sync licensing composers or even library owners, which we actually have in there, then I would urge you to consider joining us in Pro Feedback. You really want to do this with a community. You don't want to do this in isolation where you're just kind of getting high on your own supply and you think your music's getting better and better and better. And then you send it to libraries and they're like, oh, no, thanks. Yeah, I don't think so. Not really that good. And you're like, well, what the hell? I spent all this time. But maybe what you needed in your process of developing your brand and getting better at your craft was some helpful professional feedback. So whatever way you can get it, do anything you can to possibly get that feedback. I think that's a really crucial step here, okay? And then number 5, this is something that's going to continuously go on. You're never going to stop this, is you're going to just keep experimenting and keep creating and keep producing to refine your singular focus style. So you definitely never want to get stagnant where you're just doing the same thing. You're creating carbon copies and sort of cover versions of the previous tracks you just did. I fell into that hole in 2016. Trust me, it's not a fun place to be. You have to constantly push yourself. Always be looking for new sounds, new plugins, new styles, and injecting sometimes maybe whatever style that you get into. Let's say you're into EDM. Well, go spend a week listening to Americana or country music and really wrap your head around that entire world. And maybe there's something from that music. You don't have to bring like country guitars or country music into your EDM stuff, but maybe there's something that that style does that you don't do, that it's kind of really an interesting twist or a turn or a way for you to create an even more unique direction for your music. So these are just examples. You do whatever it is that you feel that would create a much higher quality and more unique original sound, okay? So that's just to get you started. Again, you now need to go do the work. You need to sort of be brutally honest with yourself in terms of determining which style is the best that you can produce. And then literally you got to go do the work. I know that we have a lot of content here in Sync Academy. We have a lot of tutorials, a lot of really helpful things for you to do. And I do want you to take part of that, but please don't use these tutorials as an excuse to procrastinate and to not go do what you actually really have to do, which is get into your studio, put your hands on your keys, and start making a great, amazing music for your sync licensing partners in the near future.